It's almost there. Hey, welcome back to PKN's live stream interviews being conducted at the AIP Australasian Packaging Conference 2025 and beyond, with this interview being brought to you thanks to Ball and Doggett. And Lindy, this is our first interview for the whole series with two guests.
I know, we're challenging ourselves, Grant, breaking boundaries here. So today with me, I have Austin Ramage and Ben McCulloch, and they are from Martogg Group. Now, Austin, you have just mentioned to me that you've had an awesome couple of days where, well, yesterday and last night, actually, it feels like a longer time because we've had so much content coming our way. And you promised that you'd share some feedback on how you think things are progressing in the conference.
Yeah, thanks, Lindy, and thanks for having us on the podcast. Yeah, look, yesterday it was an incredibly long day, but I just think what my takeaway from the show was yesterday was just the amount of speakers yesterday and the content and the good things happening and the good work being done. It was awesome. Actually, I just feel like I didn't have time to stop all day. It was going from one session to another session. It was really interesting to learn about some non-plastics packaging mediums as well, which is really good to try and improve our knowledge holistically. And obviously the awards last night were like a really fantastic night. It's the first time I've ever been to the Peter Awards before. And what I took away from last night for the awards was there's just so much innovation and so many new developments in the packaging space. And the other thing from the awards was there's so much collaboration between industry partners. And the takeaway that I was talking about with Ben last night on the way home is that, you know, from a recycling perspective, none of it's going to happen in terms of the circular economy without that collaboration. And so the fact that the whole industry really is banding together and collaborating, that's going to be the key to circularity moving forwards for sure.
Now, some people who are listening to this may not know what Martogg Group does, and I think it would be great if you could just give us in a nutshell what it is that you're up to. Okay,
so we're a privately owned plastics trading and compounding business. We've been around since 1975, based in Dandenong South in Melbourne, Victoria. And we've been compounding and trading plastics since the very start. Recycling for us has been something that we've also done since the start, but we formalised that in 2006 with Martogg LCM, so Martogg Lifecycle Management. And really that side of the business has just grown exponentially since then. And probably realistically by the end of the year, we'll make up over half of our business all the way through from sorting to washing and compounding into food contact recycled resins, industrial and non-food contact recycled resins. I'm sitting on a chair made from 100% recycled polypropylene right now, which you can't see, but I am sitting on it. It's just really exciting and it's constantly changing. It's honestly, it feels like there's a new thing to work on every week at Martogg.
So you would have seen from the awards last night in the sustainability categories how we now have a category, I say we, but the AIP in Peters has a category for recycled content. And that is something, as I said, the RPP, RPET, HDPE, all of those words or terms are now coming into our material lexicon as we speak. That must be very heartening for a company like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing to come out of it as well is there's so much talk now around local content, which has been missing from the conversation over the last few years. You know, we've talked a lot about the notion of incorporating recycled content, and not to push it too far, but you won't have circularity in the packaging industry here in Australia unless you start incorporating local recycled content. And there's a number of recycling businesses that are investing in infrastructure for that, all the way from the MRFs all the way through to the compounding businesses. And you're right, recycled content and local recycled content is going to play a crucial role in that moving forward.
Well, we heard yesterday from APCO CEO Chris Foley about new recycling infrastructure that's coming on stream, which is going to change the game by 2025 when it does come on stream. So that we are moving in the right direction. But there have been some new developments at Martogg. Ben, would you like to tell us about them?
Where to start, Lindy? Yeah, look, there's been many developments. In fact, starting most recently, following a 3-year very arduous process, we received EU food certification for our brand of food grade recycled PET Marpet. For us, it's a testament to the quality of what we're producing here in Australia. And what that does is it enables brand owners who are exporting packaging to Europe to use our material, and also for resin to be supplied across there accordingly. So that was very welcoming news from our perspective, and I think through the industry as well.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about some big investments, fast tracking recycling here in Australia, and one of the big ones for us, which has taken place over the last 12 months, has been an investment in a hot wash flake facility. This facility is called Circular AU, and it has been in the throes for some time, and it is nearing completion. We're about 2 to 3 months away from having that site up and running, and that site is going to convert local post-consumer PET articles, both through CDS and MRFs, which will ultimately be washed, converted to a flake form, and it will become a key feedstock stream for our brand of food-grade recycled PET Marpet, manufactured in Dandenong, Victoria. So we are so excited for that project to come to fruition. It's a big change in the way we've done business previously, but we believe that fundamentally it was very important for us to use as much local content as possible. So we've worked back up the chain, and it's a huge project.
So are you confident of getting enough feedstock for that?
That's one of the big issues, Lindy, and Austin touched on this a short time ago, is there is an abundance of PET bales that are actually stockpiling in Australia currently.
Okay.
So with legislated export ban now in place, and even going back to 2017 with the Chinese national sword, all of the waste that we're using here in Australia, which is actually 36 kilos every second, is now here to stay. So we have to find applications, both food grade and non-food grade, expand those applications and make the most of this valuable and inherently recyclable material that is now here in Australia. It's not being exported, and that's a good thing. It makes us more self-sufficient. It's a local, robust, circular economy. But I think one of the big things from this conference is that we need to be supporting local recycled content. We have a huge amount of this resource starting to stockpile, and it makes sense for us to be maximising that, reusing it where possible. So,
are you seeing a demand coming from, as for pull through? Are you seeing a demand for recycled content coming from brand owners?
It's slow and steady. If you look at the numbers over the last couple of years, demand for food grade recycled PET and HDPE has remained relatively low. We're hoping that is going to increase. We're still facing the same issues with respect to pricing. How it sits against the virgin alternative. But at the end of the day, yes, it's not a pretty process, and there's a cost to it. But there is also a cost to this to not be doing something about it.
We heard that too. As Chris Foley, again, APCO, said, government will do something. They're going to step in. We've heard it from Tanya Plibersek herself.
Yeah.
We need to be making those moves now.
Yeah.
So.
And look, there's a lot of talk, and there's clearly a lot of really great industry collaboration taking place both now. We've seen that through the Peter Awards last night, and we sat there and we watched it, and we were over the moon to see a lot of these industry collaborations. But I'd like to think that the brand owners and converters will be looking at this and not just looking at the APCO 2025 targets and so forth. But I will say there's a great opportunity for us here in Australia to become self-reliant and self-sufficient in recycling. And I think if COVID taught us one thing, we have to have that. We can't rely on that import-export market. We must be able to deal with the waste that we generate here in Australia. And I think we're all consumers, so we're all responsible for the benefits. Well, we all get benefits out of using plastic. There's no secret to that.
Yeah, and not just in the packaging industry, but we have so many customers outside of the packaging industry as well. Industrial applications. I mentioned the chair I'm sitting on. They're huge opportunities to use large volumes of recycled plastic. So it's not just the packaging industry, the whole plastics industry. There's a huge, it's a huge opportunity to be more sustainable and be using recycled content.
I saw you speak, Austin, at the recent SPE conference, the Society of Plastic Engineer conference, which was a really brilliant conference about across the board on plastics. And we did see again there that people were saying, we've got to move forward now, and we have to do it a little bit faster, a lot faster than we are.
Yeah, I think, and you touched on it just then, you've said, you're right, the government is going to act. So I think the other takeaway from this as well is, as an industry, we can act and we can move ahead positively, and we can be seen to be making a difference, or we're going to leave it in the hands of of the government to do what they see fit. And there's just so much experience and so many people within the industry, within the plastics industry, the packaging industry, the recycling industry. We have the smarts to do it. For sure.
Now, Ben, I'm mindful that we kind of digressed and you were busy talking about the new developments. And
Sorry, let me quickly go back. Let me quickly go back to that.
Yeah.
So, I guess what I can tell you is late last year we commissioned our SSP unit on our third and largest Facurema line.
For the audience, what is the SSP unit?
So SSP further builds IV of the PET.
Okay. All
So
those abbreviations.
what that, in short, without getting too technical on it, it now means that we have a grade that is suitable for the carbonated beverage market.
Okay.
The product has gone out to the market. We've tested internally. It's been tested externally and tested throughout the market, and it's been really well received. So that was very exciting for us. And I guess the other one that we haven't touched on is we've got a commercialised food grade recycled HDPE, and that HDPE is actually derived from domestic post-consumer milk and juice bottles in natural form. And it is suitable for, again, an abundance of different applications. So there is a tremendous amount happening both at Martogg and the industry level, which is fantastic.
I have a question then. I'm just hearing you say, where it's sourced from post-consumer. We've got big factories coming on stream with the likes of huge groups like Pact Group, linked into their circular plastics ventures. Are you competing for that feedstock? Are you able to?
Yeah, the short answer is yes, we are, and that's been a consideration of ours. But the reality is that, particularly with the advent of these container deposit schemes, some of the leading schemes, and we heard about that yesterday. Some of the leading states, they have a free market platform where it can go, where it can be freely available. I mean, without getting too political, definitely our position on what we hope happens with the Victorian deposit scheme is that remains an open platform to be available for anyone who's wanting to convert it. Because as much as, look, there's no doubt these collaborations between these big players are really important to make change and to move things ahead. No doubt whatsoever. But what's also important is there's a huge independent packaging industry that exists outside of these industry collaborations. And we need to make sure that they can access recycled content as well. And they can meet their own packaging targets and their own recycled content and sustainability targets. So I think without trying to sort of evade the question, I think it's definitely true. But we're talking about millions of tons of plastic. Exactly. There is a lot of plastic available. There's a lot to go around. And I certainly don't think that the area has been overinvested in by any stretch.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up now, but thanks for being wait a minute, I'll let you have one last say. You are the platinum sponsor here at this event. I think it's really important that companies like yourselves are supporting educational opportunities like this for the wider industry. And I wanted to get your view on why you choose to support things like this.
Okay, so this is relatively new for us working with the AIP. They were good enough during COVID to enable us to showcase our 3-part video series, which is one of the first sort of collaborations that we worked on with Sally Williams, back in, what was that, like 2020, I think. And so by them enabling us to do that, I think it was part of our strategy that as a business we needed to raise awareness about what we were doing. And we've really found that in working with the AIP through that event and through subsequent events, and we've been invited to speak on their behalf at a couple of international events during COVID as well. It's a way to give back to an industry body that clearly supports the packaging industry. But 2, there's no doubt a lot of, really, really great potential customers or existing customers are here, and we want to be seen to be supporting the space that we're very passionate about at Martogg in terms of supplying recycled materials and virgin and other master batches and compounded materials to the packaging industry and the wider plastics industry.
Now, you had one last thought you wanted to share. I'll give you a moment to.
I just wanted to. You mentioned before about a person who was sitting at home who couldn't be here today. So Alex Lajovic from Impact is overseas at the moment.
He's in Slovenia.
And so, Alex, if you're listening, I just wanted to give you a shout out because I feel like I'm on the radio right now. And I hope you're going well. And we'll see you soon.
Yes, he actually was very kind yesterday. I said to him, I've just watched your video on the screen, but I need that picture of you with the. And he says it's 3 a.m. in Slovenia, but I'm awake, so here it is.
Well, and I mean, sorry, not to go on too long,
Yeah.
but I mean, what an awesome gift, donating a tree for every one of the 280 attendees.
Yes.
Like, that is a significant gift, and I thought about it a little bit more after the video played yesterday. That's a gift that's going to continue giving for decades to come. The trees are going to continue contributing to
Pinus radiata.
Yep.
I've been to that forest. It's an impressive undertaking that he's put
Yes,
together there.
Absolutely.
Ben, last thoughts?
Oh, look, no, Lindy, I was just going to say, Austin and I spoke a bit about this on the way home from the dinner last night, but what an amazing industry body that essentially takes various industry representatives and stakeholders from all different aspects. You know, we're talking flexibles, rigid packaging, from start to end of that supply chain, and bringing the brains together to talk about these issues. And we need more of that. So we're really proud to be a part of this.
Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a great discussion. And I look forward to reporting on more developments at Martogg.
Thanks, Lindy.
Fantastic.
Great to
Thanks,
talk.
Lindy.
Well, thanks, gents. Thanks, Lindy. And of course, thanks to everyone who's tuning into these PKN interviews that are being conducted at the AIP Conference 2025 and beyond. And we really appreciate the feedback that we're getting from those who have been watching. And as was mentioned during the recording now. But of course, we'll be back shortly with another informative discussion. So stay tuned to this channel. And Ball and Doggett are going to bring you another discussion very soon now.